Hey friends, we are at the end of a decade, and what a decade it has been. I wanted to mark the occasion by talking about what I think are some of the most important videos that were released in the Poi world in the past 10 years. Drex here from DrexFactor.com, counting off what I think were the top 10 most influential Poi videos of the last 10 years. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. So straight up, this might be the most important decade in the history of Poi spinning, at least as we currently understand it. We saw the explosion and then the gradual atrophy of the flow festivals. Poi became a common sight at music festivals and raves. We even had a company that makes Poi make the Inc. 500's list of the top 500 fastest growing companies. We've seen the emergence and decline of multiple platforms for sharing information about Poi spinning, including YouTube, Tribe, Facebook, and now Instagram. And being as how Poi really works best in a visual medium, I wanted to take this occasion to look back on what I think were the 10 most influential videos of the past 10 years and see how they impacted our culture. Now, this is not to say that these are the top 10 best Poi videos of the past decade, just those that I think had the biggest impact when they were released and to this day. I'm also going to say that there's no intentional order to these videos. It's actually literally just the order that I wrote them down on the piece of paper in front of me. So if you think that I'm making a statement that one video is more important than the others, that is not the case here at all. Alright, so let's dive in, shall we? So coming in at number 10 is Shirts on Trees. This was a collaboration video between Willow Solo and his frequent collaborator, Caden Hurst. Now, the two of these Poi spinners have been super active in the juggling Poi scene, and this is one of those videos that really showcases some of the creative tosses that they've been developing over the years. I'd argue that the dominant style of Poi spinning for most of the past decade has been something that I've heard referred to as manipulation. Basically a hybrid of juggling, creative tosses, contact Poi, and negative space. And this is one of those videos that is really an exemplar of one particular part of that style. Willow's also been one of those people that's really led the charge in terms of merging together the Poi and juggling worlds, and I think you can see a lot of that thinking on display in this video. Next up, coming in at number 9, Zan and Aurora's performance from the Temple of Poi Expo in 2010. So this just barely made the list. It's just barely inside the decade. But I had to include it because I think that there's probably been no more influential video, honestly, in the history of partner Poi. Whether it be tunneling, foldouts, or even a trick that they invented called the Denver, you can find pretty much the core of the current vocabulary of partner Poi here. And in addition, it's a really amazing performance. It was choreographed with such skill and precision that it comes out feeling more like a story than it does just an exploration of Poi tech. Nearly every person that I've talked to in the past 10 years that works in partner Poi has talked about this video at some point. Without a doubt, it is a touchstone. Coming in at number 8, this is going to feel a little like the tail wagging the dog, but bear with me here. The Poi Top 10 list from 2012. So I was not originally going to include one of my own videos on here, and you will note that there are no other videos on here, any tutorials or performances that I've done. But it felt like this was kind of a watershed moment in the history of Poi, in that I think it was the first time that there was really a way to point at people and say that this person had become influential in this particular way. It actually led to people running campaigns to get on the list in some years, and I think it actually still represents a great time capsule of what is influential in Poi in any given year. In addition, there's also a discussion to be had about whether it is a positive influence on the community. Does it help identify people that are doing good work, or does it just inflate people's egos? Is it good to be able to recognize people making contributions to the community, or does it just engender a kind of competitiveness that we don't really want to have? I think that both of those points of view are all valid. But one thing that these videos do is they bring that conversation out into the open so that we can have it. And I think that that has been a big part of the conversation we've had in the past decade, and the top 10 list has been a part of it. Number 7 on the list, Jonathan Alvarez's performance at the Lake Tahoe Flow Festival. So there were a lot of John Alvarez videos that I could have put on this list. The reason that I'm putting this particular one on was that I think it was the first time that the general public really saw John Alvarez not just busting out crazy tech, but doing it in a flowy kind of manner, doing it as a performance. And to this day, I think there is always a question of when you see somebody busting out really difficult tech tricks of, well, hey, could they actually do that in a performance or not? John very clearly delivered the goods in this performance, and I think that there's a reason why this is the most viewed video of him on YouTube. In addition, it is a mind-blowing exploration both of gunslingers as well as 3 Poi, both of which have become really integral parts of the Poi world in the past few years. Coming in at number 6, the Ladies of Tech Poi compilation. So this is another one of those yearly compilations that I could select from a number of different places, but I'm actually going to go for the 2014 edition here. The reason for this is that I think that this was kind of the peak of this project, and it was also one of the first years that Liz Knights was managing it. Now, I personally think that this project is one of the most important things that has been done in the Poi world in the past decade. Because we tend to be so male-dominated, having a place where women could go and contribute and feel like they were a part of a community and not feel alone was really powerful. In addition, it was a great place for emerging artists to be able to get some exposure. A project made by the women in our community, for the women in our community, featuring the women in our community. I think that that's a really, really powerful thing. Coming in at number 5, Predator Poi from Tim Goddard. Once again, there were a bunch of Tim Goddard videos that I could have stuck in here. The reason for this one is that I think that this was really the moment that galvanized Tim Goddard's kind of visual style and approach to creating videos. This was also the moment for me personally when I saw what he was producing and I realized that I had to up my own production game. This was the future of being able to appeal to people on YouTube, because not only did it work in terms of the poi tricks that were in it, but it was just a gorgeously shot video, period. It worked on its own merits. Tim Goddard, of course, has become a mainstay of the Poi community, and I really think that this video is where he hit his stride. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Do yourself a favor. Coming in at number 4, Antiphon from Keith Marshall. So Antiphon really represents another piece of that manipulation puzzle that I was talking about earlier. This might actually be the first video of the decade that you can look at and point to and say, this is what manipulation is about to become. Keith was really well versed in techniques like negative space that had been really popular in the decade before, but had kind of fallen out of fashion, especially in the United States. Now, this video also led to Keith touring the United States 2 years in a row, the second year of which was the year that he arrived and really started to grind hard on 3 Poi. And everyone who met Keith on the road that year wound up experimenting with 3 Poi themselves, myself included. This video really became the catalyst for developing a really specific part of the Tech Poi subculture. Coming in at number 3, Red Pants from Mel. Now, I've talked before on this channel about how influential this video is. Not only did it inspire the entire horizontal stacking movement, which I will remind y'all, literally did not exist before this video. Horizontal stacking was created here. In addition, it is a fantastic exemplar of the Russian Poi style. From the super clean stalls and body tracers to, yes, additionally the horizontal stacking. This is one of those videos that I think just had an incalculable influence on the Poi world, and it is one of those videos that headed off a long decade of experimentation too. Coming in at my number 2 pick is The Future Is Now from Wojtek Stolbenko. Now, this is going to kind of seem like a little bit out of left field pick because it's not a tech video, and a lot of the videos on this list have been. But this was also the second Poi video to amass more than 1 million views. It also, probably more than any other video, popularized the use of programmable Poi, which has become a mainstay for professional Poi spinners all over the world. In addition, this was really the first time that Wojtek Stolbenko had really broken through and was being seen by the entire world. More recently, Voigt has been back touring the world and posting regular videos, so you can bet that he is not done producing content that is going to have a big impact on the Poi world. And before I give you my number 1 pick, I do want to put in some honorable mentions, not specifically of videos, but of people. There are tons of people who've been incredibly influential in the past decade, including the likes of Chris Kelly, Marvin Ong, Nick Woolsey, Teddy Petrosky, etc., and many others that I'm forgetting right now, that I just couldn't find a single video that I felt like was truly an exemplar of their work that had been released in the past decade. So there are clearly tons of people that deserve to be on this list that are not on this list, that just come down to kind of a quirk of how social media and content work and everything. But I did want to let you all know that I am conscious of these folks and I didn't just want to leave them hanging. All right, so my number 1 pick for the most influential Poi video of the past decade is Manipoi from Surreal. And it's a really annoying pick because it hasn't been accessible in years now. So why is that my pick? Well, honestly, because the entire boom in contact Poi for the past 10 years really comes down to that video. While Ronan had explored some parts of contact Poi before that, Surreal was really the one that took it and ran with it in a way that made it something everybody wanted to learn. Like literally, if you have learned any contact poi whatsoever, it almost certainly came out of this video. That's also a pretty big deal because manufacturing contact poi became one of those ways that aspiring poi artists, including myself, were able to make a living in the past decade. So not only was that video hugely influential in terms of the tricks that have now become a mainstay and a common part of the poi world, but it also introduced a way for people to be able to have a business model practicing poi. Now, more poi spinners that are able to make a living off of it means more poi spinners producing regular content and producing content that's going to inspire other people. The more people that they inspire, the more poi spinners we have out there. I really truly think that this is a good part of the reason why the poi world has grown so much in the past decade. So in addition to featuring some of the most influential poi tricks of the past decade, it also gave rise to an entire new way for poi artists to be able to make a living and by extension to help grow our community. And I think that's pretty powerful. Cool. So those were my picks looking back in 2019 at the most influential poi videos I have encountered in the past decade. What did you think of my picks? Do you have different ones? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to check them out. So it has been an incredible decade of change and evolution for the poi world, and also for me too personally. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of you out there who have watched and supported the work that I do over the course of the past decade, and of course watched and supported the other artists on this list as well. Thank you so much for making the poi world what it is and for sharing something that you love with all of us. The past decade has without a doubt been my favorite one spent on planet Earth thus far. I can't wait to see what the next decade looks like. If you dug this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and of course, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I drop a new video. And finally, a huge shout out to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. They are the reason that this video and all the videos on my channel exist. Patreon, of course, is another great way for flow artists to be able to pursue this full time, and I really appreciate the fact that it's out there. If you would like to sign up to support the work that I do, please head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You get early access to all of my content, plus a host of other really great rewards, including being able to vote on what topics I pursue in the future. So go and check that out, please and thank you, and have a happy new year, everybody. I'll see you in 2020. Peace.